What is up, Scootaheads? Hey, I hope you guys are all having a fantastic weekend. I'm cold, man. I'm cold, and it's February in New York. So what do you expect? But I know some of you guys down in Texas and down south are also having some cold weather as well. So hope you guys are staying safe and warm out there. We've got Garage Time 2 coming up, and today we're gonna be showing. We got this podcast out. Myself and my buddy Nem are talking motorcycles, scooters, that two-wheel life. Guys, I hope you guys enjoy it. Check it out. It's about 2 hours long, so I hope you enjoy it. It's just a rich conversation, and let us know what you think. We plan to do more of these, so let us know how you feel. It's been a pleasure. I'll check you on the next one, and don't forget, Tuesday I'm releasing my reveal of my new bike. All right, you guys, have a blessed weekend. I'll check you on the next one. All right, enjoy the video.
Yeah, it's Garage Time 2 with 2 people. Yeah.
Yes, even better. So, except I'm not in the garage, and but we're gonna just go through some questions, and we're gonna just have some fun today, talking scooters and motorcycles and stuff. So, I'll let you introduce yourself now.
All right. Well, I'm Nem. I guess I'll just give kind of a quick background of how we actually ended up doing this.
Yes.
Basically, I saw one of your videos on the ADV, and the ADV is actually the scooter that I wanted to get. In fact, I wanted to replace my XMAX with the ADV, and you were one of the people that I don't know if I sent you that message telling you that I wanted to do that, but I ended up posting a couple of different forums just because I love how the ADV looks. That's like the main thing about the ADV is I love how it looks, and I love the size. It's a bit smaller than the XMAX, and I was actually able to sit on one at a dealership a few months ago. So and I'm like, so perfect. It just it looks good, it feels good, and the only concern that I had was the engine. So I'm like, let me find some videos on YouTube. And then I ended up running across the videos that you did on the ADV. So I ended up shooting you a message, and you're like, let's do this because we both have a love for, two-wheelers and scooters and bikes. So that's basically how this ended up happening. So
Absolutely. And I'm going to even circle back before then. I'm going to circle back to my ADV purchase. So back in May, when I was doing probably June or May, I was doing my research for the just a scooter. I didn't know anything about scooters. And I came across Nem's channel with the Forza that you did a review on. So it's crazy how we just get information from each other. But it's your fault I got the ADV, because I remember vividly watching that video, and I was like, man, I wish I could find a Forza here in the US. And then I was like, okay, I can't find one, but what else is out there? And then I started doing it, and so like the other Hondas.
So let me ask you a question. So what made you get a scooter? Where did that come from?
Oh, that's a great question. So my Uncle Dave, I mentioned him a couple times in some of my videos. He's got
the guy with the Vespa, I believe, right?
He's at the Vespa, right? So he purchased his back in 2020, and he didn't have anybody to ride with. And he knows that I'm like a car guy, and he talked me into getting into different type of stuff when it comes to motorsports. And so we went downstate to New York City to pick up his Vespa, and I was there, and I started looking around. I was like, maybe. And then how it got in the middle of the pandemic, where we're just sitting there bored, oh my gosh, I need to buy something. And that's what kind of drove me to saying, hey, I will consider getting into a scooter or something like that. I like the fact that I like the simplicity in the scooters as far as being able to twist and go, and you're getting fresh air. I was nervous, so that was another reason why I went directly with a scooter first, because I didn't want to learn the clutch and all that stuff initially.
So you never ridden a motorcycle before?
No.
Oh wow. Okay.
Nope. So I did maybe dirt bikes a long time ago. I know how to drive a manual transmission, so the clutch work it's actually second nature. I've had some experience with that recently too. So
okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you the story of how I got into scooters. So about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm actually originally for Europe, and Europe, everybody rides scooters and whatnot. Yeah, I came to the United States. I was like 13 or so. So I really didn't have a chance to ride a scooter when I was back in Europe. I was too young. Yeah. But I always have that love for like scooters and whatnot. I just love the fact that they're just so easy to ride and they're like super convenient. So like I'm in the US, and this was back in like 2017 or something, about five years ago or so. And I'm like, I saved up some money. I was like, out of college, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get a scooter. I never been on a scooter. I didn't know much about scooters myself. Okay. Yeah. So I see one guy. I had really little knowledge about scooters. Didn't know much about different brands, about what they sell in the United States. Didn't even know like what the difference between a 50 and a 125 or a 150 was. Didn't know what 50cc stood for, to be quite honest. Like I had no idea. Like why would I know, right? I wasn't in that world. So I ended up doing some research and whatnot, and I saw this guy selling a scooter for $1,000. It was a genuine rough house. Okay. It was a genuine rough house, and genuine it's a decent brand here in the United States. I did a couple of videos on them, but we can talk about that later. Anyways, so I hit up this guy. I'm like, dude, like I'd love to check it out. I never been on a scooter, $1,000, whatever. If I lose $1,000, it doesn't matter if I don't like it. Yeah. So I go. I've never been on a scooter. This is about 30 miles away from where I live. It's on the border between Wisconsin and Illinois. So I get in my car, I go, and I like how it looks. I'm like, dude, I want to get this. And I'm like, can you like teach me how to ride? Because I never ridden one. He's like, dude, like this is so easy. You just get on it, you twist, and that's it. So I get on it. I'm like, dude, this is kind of fun, man. Yeah. So I leave my car there, and I drive that thing home like 30 miles. Yeah, it was nuts, man. I was super scared. I didn't have a helmet.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it was nuts. I was super scared, but like I took it easy. I was going like 20 and whatnot. Yeah. But to be honest, within about like 15 minutes, you kind of get used to it because it's really simple. It's not intimidating whatsoever, like riding a scooter. And I'm like, this is kind of fun. So I get it home, and then I just kind of fall in love. I had that scooter for about 2 years or so before I sold it. And then I was stripping it down completely, learning about how things function on a scooter, doing like my own maintenance, upgrading stuff and whatnot. And then I ended up doing that video, which is one of the best videos that I have, or one of the most popular, where I compare a 50 to a 150. Right. And I fell in love with the scooter so much that I ended up getting another scooter, which was a Kimco Super 8 150. So I had two scooters at that time. And I'm like, this is so awesome. It's super convenient. I would take that thing to work. I would like take it around town. And it was just a lot of fun. And then from that point on, I had 8 or 9 scooters or so. So yeah, that's kind of basically the backstory of how I got into it. But like everybody, if you're interested into getting a scooter, extremely easy to ride, really fun and like super convenient as well. So
absolutely. It's so funny how it's kind of like it's an addiction almost, where it's like you start
it becomes exactly.
Yeah. It's like, okay, let me take my money. So yeah,
I know, exactly. That's what one thing that I was kind of worried about is just the fact that I knew that scooters weren't popular in the United States, especially here in the Midwest. In Chicago, you can see them around the city and whatnot. Where I live, it's kind of rural, so not a lot of scooters, a lot of big Harley guys. Yep. And I'm like, I'm just gonna look kind of odd and weird, like riding around on a scooter and whatnot. That was one concern that I had. I'm like, are people gonna, laugh at me, like, what the heck are you doing on the street with this thing? And nobody did, actually. People thought it was kind of unique and kind of cool and whatnot. And I'm like, you know what, this is kind of cool. And that's where, again, I ended up doing research, found out about, Yamaha scooters, what they sell in the United States, Honda and whatnot, and just kind of fell in love, as I've said. And and as I've said, from that point on, I had a bunch of different scooters, anything from like little 50cc's to the 300cc that I have here, which is the XMAX. So, wow. So
when you told me the story on both of those, I was like blown away.
Yeah. That was So basically both of these, the way that I picked them up is it's really crazy. I have the videos on my YouTube channel, but just a quick recap, I guess. For the XMAX, I ended up taking a bus ride of like 14-15 hours to Kansas City from Northern Illinois because the lady had it for sale for $3,000, which was just insane considering like new, they're like about $6,500. And this was new. it was new. She had like 300 or 400 miles on it. She just had it that summer. She bought it in like July, and I picked it up in September. She's like, I don't like it. I don't want it. And then for the Super Cup, the dealerships in Illinois had them on a sale just because they weren't selling well. So I'm like, you know what? I had like $3,000 just kind of saved up. I'm like, you know, I'll get it because it's just so goofy and whatnot, and I just like how it looks. So, but to go back to the ADV that you had when at that time, so before the ADV came out, because I think that came out in last year,
21. Yeah, the black. It was a charcoal, like a black one that came out.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. When that came out, I was like super excited. I'm like, this is the best looking scooter that I've seen, and in my eyes, it's actually better looking than both of these guys, and pretty much anything that's for sale in the United States. And you know, I ended up doing some research, ended up reaching out to you and whatnot. And the only reason why I kind of, you know, stopped myself from getting one is because everybody has told me that the speed on the XMAX is it's just better. You know, it's more convenient to have something that's kind of faster than the 150. So what's your experience actually with the ADV?
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback on that. So my ADV riding it, my favorite time to ride is like when I'm going like through the city. I live in a kind of a rural area as well. So I've got a lot of roads that are like 55 miles per hour. And so I'll circle back to that part. But my favorite time to ride is like early in the morning. I'll usually go like downtown or in, you know, areas in the city, like different parks and stuff like that. And I like it because you don't see, everyone else has either sport bikes or, you know, Harley Davidsons, things like that. You don't see many scooters here. Because I'm upstate, I'm not downstate. Like I'm sure downstate, they probably have more scooters, but up here, you don't see them. And so, you know, people stop and ask questions like, oh, what is that? You know, I was a little nervous at first when I was like, am I going to be a dork or something like that?
I know, that's how I felt.
But I'm at the point, I'm married, man. I'm not trying to, like, I'm an old guy.
Nobody's too impressed. Exactly.
Like, who cares? But my wife, she was like, I'm not getting on the back of that thing with you. I said, okay, well, whatever. But in like driving in the city and things like that, it's perfectly fine. Like I can leave most stoplights and good to go. Where you start running into some challenges is on these rural roads. So sometimes I don't feel like taking a 20-minute ride. I'd rather ride out here in the rural area. And like I said, a lot of the speed limits are about 55 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And I never forget the first time I was on one of those roads. I was actually going to a dealership that's not too far from me. And I got this thing pegged at like, so I'm at about 55. I started at 55, and then there are like a line of cars behind me. And so I'm pegging this thing. I'm like, ah, and it does not like that. It's for an extended amount of time. And so I end up pulling over. I'm like, I'm gonna let these people pass me, and I'm gonna go a different way. It maxes out at 72, but that's like, I think a good correlation is like, we don't drive our cars at their max.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so that's designed, the ADV 150 is designed to, you know, I think between 0 to maybe 50, you're good to go. But once you start getting past that, it's the way that the acceleration climbs, it's not fast enough to be, in my opinion, I know this is not going to be popular, but it's not, I don't think it's the safest at those speeds.
Especially in the US, especially in the US. Because I've seen a lot of videos with guys like in Asia and whatnot, where, you know, they take around the country, but like the speed limit is like 80 kilometers, which is like, I don't know, about 50 miles or so. For that, it's fine. Yeah. But like you said, I took my Super Cup actually on a couple of trips on those rural roads where the speed limit is like 55. Nobody goes 55. Everybody's going 70 on the rural road. So you're just kind of like, you're just making people mad. Like they're behind you. And like you said, kind of have to pull over and then have them pass. And then you get on the road again. And then there's another line behind you. So it's a lot of you looking back and whatnot, not feeling safe, as you said. But in the city, the Super Cup, which is like kind of a similar thing to the ADV, it's so nice. It's ideal. It's easy to hop on and off. It's just fun. When you're at a red light, you just peg it. You're faster pretty much than any vehicle that's next to you. So from that aspect, it's a lot of fun. But like if you live in a certain area where you need that speed, then like you need something faster. So
Yeah, and most of, I mean, I've got, I would say a lot of the roads around me are 50, like they're like state roads that are 55 miles per hour. And
Yeah,
it's a that's where it's a little challenging, but it's, you know, and I think the important thing is with any scooter or motorcycle that you purchase is kind of knowing where you are at, how you're going to use it, and then say, okay, here's some options that are going to be a great fit for my use case. You know?
exactly. I think that's the most important question that you should actually ask yourself. A lot of the questions that I get from like people asking me, like posting comments on the videos, is like, what should I get? What's the top speed? And I'm like you have to ask yourself, like, what is your usage going to be of the machine that you need? If you're going to be in a city and you'll never get out of the city, then, you know, maybe even a 50 is okay. But if you plan on taking the bike on the roads where the speed limit is 55, like a 50 is just not going to do it. Like that's, you can't take a 50 on like a road where the speed, I mean, you can, but like it's a terrible idea.
Yeah, you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah, there's a lot of risks. Yeah, with a 150, it gives you a bit more flexibility. But again, it's difficult if you have those speed limits where the limit is 55. But if you want to take it on, I don't know, kind of a faster road, it just kind of limits you. And that's where, you know, bigger capacities I think are just a much better choice. So.
I think the perfect. I think that XMAX, as far as in the United States, to me, that you can purchase today is one of the best choices that are out there as far as getting something. Because, like, tell me about like how it is with your XMAX as far as, you know, highway use and things like that.
So I think I did a video on like why I love the XMAX, and the reason it's not like too big. It's not like the Bergman 650 where it's huge. It's a little bigger than the ADV, which is okay, but the engine is just fantastic because it doesn't limit you whatsoever. It's nimble enough for anybody to get on and ride it in the city, and then it does give you the capability on the highway. As I told you, I took the thing from Kansas City to like northern Illinois, 668
miles.
I know. And I was on the highway. And you can easily cruise 75. At like 75, the bike is spinning about 6,500 RPM, which is like ideal. It's perfect. So that, like you said, it's probably, if you're looking for a scooter, something that's easy to ride, you don't have to shift gears, and something that you can pretty much ride anywhere. I think this is one of the best, probably the best choice, because the other choices are like, there's the Bergman, I believe 400 that they still sell in the US. The 200, I think they sell. I don't know how capable that is. And then there's that Kymco AK550. I don't know if you've seen the Kymco 550.
Kymco, isn't there a 350 as well? Like a Kymco 3?
Oh yes, there's the X-Down. Yeah, there's the X-Down. There it is. The X-Down. Out of all of those, I feel like the XMAX gives you, first of all, it's like a Yamaha, which is kind of cool. And second of all, it seems like the best deal, because the Bergman, the 400 is $8,000 or something, which is kind of like a lot of money. And this thing, it's like 6,500 out of the door, because it's like 57 MSRP, which I feel like it's a good value.
That's a sweet spot.
100 and gives you a lot of options. So so absolutely, like my usage is basically like in the summer. So this past year, I put 7,000 miles on the XMAX, 7,000 miles on the XMAX, and I put 4,000 miles on my car the entire year. The entire year, just because like there's no need for me to take out the car, because I do pretty much everything locally and whatnot. I just get on the, go to work. When I was in grad school, go to school and whatnot. It's just so easy. Like if I want to go play basketball or tennis or whatever, I just get on the XMAX. It's so nice. And that's only, I ride it about 8 months out of the year. Like if I could ride it year round, like there is really no need for me to have a car. It's just, I have to, because I'm in the Midwest. So,
and you've got storage.
You want to take your family somewhere, like it's just easier to have a car and whatnot. But like, it's such a good way to like get around if you're just by yourself. It's ideal. It's so nice.
I've seen because I know with the X-Men, how many can you fit 2 helmets in there, or how many is?
Yeah, you can fit one like full size helmet. Actually, let me show you something that make you laugh. Actually, so when I got the Super Cup, I'm like, I have to get a helmet to match.
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
I got this half helmet that's like red and white and matches the colors of the Super Cup. So I can fit this guy and like my big helmet, the full size helmet. You can't really fit 2 full size helmets.
Right.
But you can like a half helmet and like a full size helmet as well. But
that's plenty.
It's decent. It's really nice. Yeah. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of room underneath the seat, which is another thing that's kind of perfect about scooters is they give you that convenience. Like I take it shopping, like I take it shopping, I take it to the grocery store because I can fit a lot of stuff under the seats.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really nice. And I assume it's the same case with the ADV, which is why personally, if you want something for in town, I feel like the ADV is probably like one of the best choices.
Yeah. No, the ADV, I love the fact that as far as storage, you cannot fit a full face helmet in it.
Oh, you can't?
You cannot. No.
Oh man.
No. You could do a half, but that is one of my gripes about it, is that you can't fit a full. Nope. Obviously you get a top case, for it, but but out the, as it is, you can't. There's a section where, it's got a little strap where you could hook your
lock it.
You can hook the helmet to it's like a little strap that comes out of the seat. Okay. And it's okay, but you don't want to. I know for me, I don't want to scratch it up and stuff like that. But it's but like groceries and things like that, you could definitely fit in there. It's just that you got to take that helmet with you, or you strap it to the side, or get a top case. So that's
okay. Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. XMAX. Yeah, you can put two helmets. It's really nice, man. It's awesome. Like it's if you need like something that's kind of quick, you don't have to shift gears. It's like super comfortable to ride. Like the XMAX, I feel like is a really good choice. I'm sure that like the Bergman is also really good, but like I can't really justify spending like $3,000 over the XMAX for like 100 more CCs, and I don't really think that the Bergman 400 is that much more capable than the XMAX, anyways.
Yeah, so. I what I found with a lot of these scooters is that it's kind of like because I'm a big car guy. It's kind of like and even I found that this is even happening with me a little bit, is you kind of get a certain, like out of the manufacturer, you might like certain things that manufacturer provides. Yeah. And I'm starting to see that's kind of, I'm starting to maybe fall into that a little bit. I love the fact that the ADV, as far as fit and finish, and
it's a Honda, man. It's a Honda. So.
It's got some cool features like the keyless remote, everything's LED. I think overall it's a great package. The one thing that just I feel like if it had a 300cc or 350, it would be a real, even here in the States, I think it would be a big contender.
To be quite honest, when I was thinking about that, I'm like, even if it was like a 200, like if I could cruise at 65, like I would be happy with that, because I never, even when I'm on the highway, I don't really go past 65. Right. Like if you can give me like that capability where I can cruise for a few hours at 65, yeah, it's just you're kind of limited and you can't really do that, and that's like the only reason why I didn't go for it. And I'm kind of sad, at the same time, because I just love how it looks. And I was actually thinking about, maybe I'll just sell my Super Cup and then get the ADV, but then I also kind of love the Super Cup. So it's kind of one of those things. I would rather just kind of save up some money and maybe just add it to my collection rather than sell something. And then,
right.
Because I would feel bad selling the Super Cup just because it just looks so goofy and it makes you feel like so good riding around the city and whatnot. And like, so yeah, it's kind of tough and whatnot. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe in a year or so, if I save up some money, who knows?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too, because I've discussed this on my channel, but I got rid of my ADV, And so I think I'm a two bike person though.
Yep.
I would like to have the 80. You know, I probably should have kept it, but I was at the point where I was like, you know what, I want a different main bike. And I am considering once I can get my wife to not remember that I purchased the last one. I am thinking about the Honda Navi though. I think I'm gonna put that. I think I'm gonna get that as the second bike.
Yeah, the Navis. I follow a couple of Facebook groups on the Navi, and people love it. And I think one of the reasons is obviously the price, which is 1,800. Well, it's not really 1,800. That's one of the videos I did, which is that's one thing that kind of annoys me. Is companies that advertise something at a certain price, you go to the dealership, it's like, even with the ADV, I think it's 4,300. Like 4,300, that's a good deal for the ADV. But like when you go and you pick it up, it's like maybe 5,500 or something like that. Maybe even more than that.
Yeah, so you do a warranty, and then obviously your tax and setup. I got mine before they started adding that extra surcharge. But still, I think I was like 53 out the door, something like that. I got the extended
1,000 over the SRP.
Right.
Yeah, which is it's a lot of money. You're thinking in your head 43, not too bad. You get there 53, and then the things that I've seen with the Navi, the price is, man, like I've seen people get them for like 2,200, and I've seen people like pay like 3,300, which is it's insane.
Not 33. I mean, you lose all the value of it. Like at 22, I get it. Even 25 at the most, I'm like, okay, fine.
Yep.
But 3,000, 3,300, that's absurd. That's absurd.
As the one reason why I think it's also kind of insane is because if you look at the used market, like 3,000, man, that can land you. I got this guy for $3,000. That's the thing. Like, and you can't really compare the two. Like,
not at all.
I know, for like 25, stretch to 25, it's a new bike, it's really cool and whatnot. Like anything after that point is kind of like, man, I don't know. And especially because like I did a ton of research, and I saw that you did a video on the Navi as well. I did a ton of research, and then apparently they were actually making the Navi and selling the Navi in India. And in India, that thing retailed for like $550. And I get that they have to ship it over, and there's like taxes, but like, if you're paying $2,500, man, that's like 5 times what somebody pays in India. And I just kind of feel like I'm getting ripped off.
Yeah.
It's like the same bike, and I'm paying 5 times as much.
I know. And this one, the other thing I was thinking, I was like, okay, it's very popular right now. I was at a dealership the other day. They had one.
I saw your video.
I should have asked, but I was caught up in something else. I should have asked, like, yo, what's the out the door on? What are you guys charging as far as the out the door? But I think, this time next year, when people are like, with half the motorcycle communities hibernating, this is going to be a great time to get a great deal on one of those, probably as far as on the used market or even at dealerships, depending once it's not as on fire as it is now.
To be quite honest, I also think that a lot of people are just buying it because it's cheap. And I feel like that novelty factor is going to wear off soon. Like soon they'll like kind of realize, it's in my garage. Like I don't use it and whatnot. Let me just get rid of it because it's just sitting. That's at least my opinion on what's going to happen, just because they're selling a ton of these. Like dealerships, man, I see them get them in, and they're like the next day they're sold out. And I'm like, they're just buying them because they're cheap. Like when people do that, the used market is going to get flooded, which is good for people like me.
Right.
Who, if we're looking to get it and don't pay like a super high.
I'll give you 1,200 today. What do you want? It's just sitting in your garage.
I know. Exactly. So, it's again, like you said, if I was actually, so the funny thing is I was chatting with a buddy of mine yesterday, and a dealership about 50 miles from me had that poopy color one.
Okay, nut brown.
My opinion is like the best color for it. I don't know if you like it, but in my opinion, it's the best one.
I like that. Yeah, I like the color.
I love it. And they had it The only charge they ask for is a 99 documents charge, plus the 300 for shipping. There's like another 100 added, the surcharge.
Yeah, yeah.
So the out of door price is about like 2,400. I'm like, man, like, should I go? Should I pick it up? And then I'm thinking, you know, I'd have 3 bikes then, and then I'll have like 2 really slow bikes. Like, do I really need that? Like, do I want to go and impulse buy it? So I thought maybe I'll just wait, you know, ride the 2 bikes that I have, and then maybe next year, like you said, if it comes up on the used market, or like 1,800 or something, then pick it up and whatnot.
Right.
So, yeah. And another thing is, like, the Navi is really awesome. A couple of things that I hate is it's carbureted.
Right.
And I don't know, some people may not agree with me on this one, but I had a couple of carbureted scooters prior. Man, it's just a headache when you're like in the Midwest, it gets cold, you let it sit for like a month, and it just doesn't want to start. And then you have to take the carb out, you have to clean it, and it's just kind of a hassle. Plus the whole thing that you kind of have to let it warm up, and it doesn't want to, you know, the engine doesn't sound as nice if you get on it immediately. It's just a little bit annoying and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's
I
like starting up a snowblower.
What's up?
It's like starting up a snowblower.
It does, yeah, exactly. You have to, it's just kind of a hassle and whatnot. I'm like, do I want to deal with that? Maybe I do, you know, because I'll have 2 other bikes and whatnot. But then at the same time, I'm like, dude, it's like $2,300, man. That's kind of a lot of money. And one thing that I always like when I think about things like that, I look on the used market, and I'm like, if I just maybe save another grand, I can get like a used ADV. And like in my eyes, you can't really compare the two. Like the ADV and the Navi, quality-wise, performance-wise, you can't really compare the two. So I'm like, maybe I should just then, you know, save another grand and then get an ADV because I'll get more use out of it. Right. And it's, in my opinion, it's a nicer looking thing as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just the good thing is that there are options that, you know,
there are,
world,
even in the US,
exactly. And I think that that's a good thing because at first glance, you know, I know when I was looking for the ADV, at first glance, I was like, there's not a lot out there. You know, there's not a lot of scooters and things like that. But if you kind of pause and say, okay, there are actually a lot of options here in the States.
They are, exactly. Yeah. They are. That's one of the things that people kind of ask me. And obviously, there's more options like in Asia and Europe. And sometimes, you know, I see people on different forums be like, you know, I wish we had the XADD, which is that big 750 that Honda makes. And we wish you did a video on the 350, which I don't think you're getting, you know, in the United States. I'm like, I wish that too, but then you kind of have to realize how small the market in the United States is. And taking that into consideration, we have a ton of options. Like, I was reading somewhere that in the US, we get this, like the two-wheeler market, the scooter represents about like 2 or 3% of the sales. Taking that into consideration, we have a ton of options.
That's crazy.
I know, it's kind of crazy. What are your thoughts on actually on the fact that scooters are really popular in the US?
I think that you know, it's one of those things where it's hard to say. I know this is Harley world over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I bet you if Harley Davidson came out with a scooter, I know.
I think so.
But I bet you it would sell. I bet you it would sell because it's a Harley. But I don't know. I'm kind of just saying that. But I think that it's just not part of the culture here. Like I was watching some videos. My wife are thinking about going to Europe for vacation, and we're just watching videos, and everyone has a scooter. Like you'll see a car, and then you'll see a scooter. You'll see a car. It's just not like that here. Even the motorcycle market though. Like I know overall, like it's not that. It's probably one of the smallest markets in. It's not a big market, the U.S. market. Yeah, so
I think it's like 15,000 a year.
Yeah, it's not a lot. Not at all.
And consider how many choices we have. Also, I'm like, how many? You know, there's these Chinese brands. I'm like, what do they sell? Like 2 scooters a year? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's so it's hard to say. You know why we don't have them here, and I know for me, like I said earlier, was, you know, the kind of the stigma of like, is this going to be dorky but I've gotten to the point where I don't care.
Yeah. Yep.
But maybe some people might think that it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
I was watching actually a good video. Ari from he was on a bunch of different channels. Now he's with Revzilla. He's an awesome guy, probably one of my favorite YouTube guys.
What was it?
His name's Ari. He does videos for Revzilla now.
Okay.
The latest video they did was like him and this guy Zach did a trip on the Trail 125. They went to Alaska.
Oh like yeah.
Exactly. He did a video where he talked about how him and there's I don't know if you've ever seen Fortnine's videos.
Yeah, yes. He did Bergman recently.
Yes, he did. He did.
Yep.
Dude, that's the best channel. That guy is. He's super intelligent. His knowledge is immaculate, and the way that he does his videos.
Oh my gosh! I just like. I'm sad that they come out once a month or so.
I know. Like, the same feeling. I'm literally like, I get on YouTube and like I type in there, I go into their channel just to see if they had done something. Yeah. I'll even watch their videos on gloves and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
just because they're so
it's interesting.
They are so interesting. But anyways, to go back to the point that I was making. They were making a point that in the United States, bikes are generally seen as this luxury item. Mm-hmm. You don't use a bike to use it as a vehicle that you commute to, from work and to school and whatnot. Right. And that being the case, people want something kind of nice, something that's, fast, that looks good. They can take out on that twisty road. And, with a scooter, you can't really do that. It's more of a vehicle that you use, in the town. It's convenient. It's easy to get on and off. It gets you from point A to B and whatnot. And I get that. In Europe and in Asia, they use it as like a main vehicle. In the United States, that's not the case, even though it'd be kind of cool if it was. Yeah. But I guess that's what it is. So.
Do you think the barrier though is because I know like with 50cc motorcycles in a lot of states, you don't even need a motorcycle endorsement. Do you think that maybe that once you get to 100cc or 150cc, that there's a barrier there now? You know what I mean? I have to get a motorcycle endorsement versus, and the other thing is I think that the culture in the United States, a lot of people think that, know that motorcycles and scooters being on the road without a cage around you, it's not safe, It's hard to say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's just that culture, and then also the roads in the United States, they don't seem to be suited, for small little scooters.
Right.
The roads are really wide. You have big cars. You're kind of hard to see and whatnot. So I get it, and that's why I was making a point. I'm kind of happy with the options that we do get because it's such a small market. There's a ton of options actually. A ton of 50 cc's. You have a couple of 300 cc's. You have Kimco that came out with the AK550, which is basically a sports scooter.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I couldn't believe that they
what are those, about 11 grand or so for the 550?
Yeah, it's really expensive. Yeah, it's really expensive. I've seen one. Actually, I was in Miami over the summer. I saw a guy ride it, and it looks really good. Yeah. And Miami's, in Miami, there's a lot of scooters. I don't know if you've ever been.
Really?
That's like one city. Yeah, there's a lot of scooters in Miami.
Ah.
Miami, like West. Yeah, a lot of scooters.
Key West, I know in Key West, I was just there. In Key West, I saw scooters all over the place.
Yep. In Key West, you can rent them out. You can ride around.
Right. I love Key West. Oh my gosh.
It's really nice. I was there actually over the summer as well. And it was my first time visiting Key West, even though I've been in Florida a bunch of times. And I was like, man, it's kind of cool. Living here, all you need is a scooter because everything is really close. The weather is perfect. So it's a great view. Even a 50cc in Key West is perfect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Actually, let me ask you this question. So when you were considering getting a scooter, did you have the engine size in mind at all?
Yes. I knew I didn't want a 50cc. Personally for me, because I did know that, I wanted to have some extra capability as far as, being able to, I knew my roads. I didn't realize, that I was more looking at the top speed on the ADV, and I don't even think Honda advertises it, but it's I guess known that it's about 72 miles per hour. So in my head, I was like, okay, that should be fine. and maybe I didn't do enough research, but so I knew I needed at least 150 cc. I didn't want anything under it because I looked at the SMAX. I looked at the SMAX. I think there was like a I looked at a Vespa 150. I don't know why I was in that 150 zone, and I looked at the PCX 160. And my uncle was like, he's like, you might want to get something that's got a little bit more power. But then I was like, I don't want to spend $6 or $7 grand either. So it was like I was, because I didn't know if I was gonna really, I didn't know I was gonna really enjoy, as much as I do. So
I get that. No, that's one of the questions that I get a lot is like, what is the top speed? What is the top speed? And like one of the things that I think to myself is like, it's a fair question and whatnot. It's just that, when people ask me what's the top speed on the Super Cup, I'm like, dude, like the top speed really doesn't matter. You're not getting the Super Cup like to take it out on the highway. Right. That's not its purpose and whatnot. Yeah. So the top speed is whatever, like 55, 60, like if you're lucky. Right. But like doesn't mean you can just peg at 60 all day, and get on the highway and whatnot, because it's not gonna keep 60. You get a slight bump, it drops down to like 40. Yep. And people just, people think that, top speed, I can do that all day long. No, you can't, unfortunately.
Not at all. And the other thing is, people don't realize that your weight does play a big role as far as what your top speed is. Right. I've met, I'm not 500 pounds. I'm about 215 pounds, and I got mine up to about 67. And it was like, after I pet, it was like, bruh, that's all I got. That's all I got for you.
I get it. Yeah, people also don't realize that. And that's especially true with like little 50s. Yeah. Like, dude, like 5 pounds makes a difference.
Oh,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
It really does. One thing that when I was actually just getting into scooters, one thing that kind of surprised me is even a little 50, when you think about like 50 cc's, that's like a little cup of water. And the amount of power that they can produce, for such small engines, it's truly nuts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's truly insane. Just thinking about, like, I have a Kia that I drive like for work and whatnot. Yeah. It has a 2-liter engine. That's 2,000 cc's.
Right.
2 liter. That's 2,000. So a 50 cc scooter, the difference. That's 40 times, right?
That's crazy.
40 times as much.
That's crazy.
Insane. Like, just thinking that it can even get you to like 30 miles per hour is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. So what do you think? Because I have a lot of people that I know are these are first time people getting on 2 wheels, things like that. And obviously people that have been riding forever, but what is the difference between I know something might sound like a simple question, but what is the difference between someone that buys a scooter like the XMAX, for example, your situation, where the person you bought it from purchased it this year, this is the year that you purchased it, and then just didn't do anything with it? Because I have a lot of people that I know that have, motorcycles and scooters that are sitting in their garage, never, 300, 400, 1,000 miles on them, and then just kind of put them up. Why do you think that is?
To be quite honest, that's something that I love about the United States, man. Just because it gives people like me a chance to pick them up for not a lot of money, and it's the best thing in the world. Yeah. The reason behind it, I don't know, man. I think like people maybe, they get this idea in their head that, they're going to use it every day and whatnot. And they get on it and their expectations might be too high. And they're like, it's just kind of easier to use a car and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of have it sit. Like, that's not my case whatsoever. Like, right. I love getting out and, taking the bike out as much as I can, just because in my eyes, it's just as nice as, being in a car. Plus it's more convenient. You get on it, you're off it. It's really easy. And it's just more fun. That's like one thing. It's just a lot more fun than being in at least in my case. Yeah. I have a Kia. Kias they're not fun cars and whatnot. Yeah. If I had like a Mazda Miata or something, maybe like it'd be different, but like I do not. So I don't know, man. And that's true, not just about scooters, like you said, motorcycles as well. Yeah. And I think that just goes back to that point that in the United States, people buy bikes as this luxury item to maybe use once a month or whatever. Right. And they just don't, and they're like, you know, what is the point of keeping this thing? It's just kind of, you know, collecting dust in my garage.
Yeah.
So
that was a fear of mine. And that's why I started at that. You know, I was like, okay, I'll do something 150 cc. I felt like I could absorb that and not feel like horrible about it if I didn't use it. But it was something that had, like, I don't know what it was, but like I just was so I hated going days without using it. I felt like
I know.
Yeah. So I think you know, when you get the bite, you know, when you get the bite, it's there. They're like, okay, some people are just gonna enjoy it, get on there, and then other people are just gonna kind of maybe fear things like that could play a role too. Because there's an adjustment, you know, when you're very vulnerable as far as, you know, being out there without anything around you. And I think that makes it really easy to say, you know, maybe not. And I was one of those people that it was a luxury. It was one of those things where I was like, let me try it out. I work from home, so I never have to commute anywhere. And so I was just like, I don't need it to, it's just going to be more of a fun weekend thing. And that's what it definitely is and was. So
that's the thing is, as long as you can, you know, have a lot of fun during the week, then you get to use it a lot. So that's kind of cool. Like my XMAX and even the Super Cup, man. I'll if I take the XMAX out on a Monday, like the next day I'll take out the Super Cup, just because I hate the thing that it's just kind of sitting in the garage. I want to use it and whatnot. And it's like I'm having fun with it as well. So I don't know, man. It's the market in the US it is kind of weird, but again, as I've said, it gives people like me who do like, you know, bikes and maybe don't have a ton of money to spend, a chance to pick them up at a great price. And I was just looking at a Rebel 250. It was like a 2014 or so prior to like this update, and this lady is selling it for $1,200, which is it's so, and the bike has 255 miles.
What?
It's nuts, man. It's nuts. And I'm like, dude, like, should I go? It's like 300 miles away from me, so I'm like, it's kind of cold, and I don't have a trailer and whatnot. But I'm seriously like thinking about, should I like rent a U-Haul and you go?
Do you have like this? I know in my area, Home Depot, instead of doing U-Haul, because you know, I think U-Haul they charge per mile.
Yeah.
But Home Depot, they have unlimited miles.
By hour, they do it by the hour,
or by day. So
by day. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'll have to think about it, just because I don't know if I want a Rebel and whatnot, but like it's such a good deal. The crazy thing is that I know that I don't like flipping stuff actually. One thing, so I'll tell you a funny story. I had a Kimco a while back, and I had it for about 6 months. I got it really cheap. I got it for like $700, and it was worth. My honest opinion that the bike was probably worth like $1,500. It's just the guy bought it, never used it, had like 50 miles on it, and I ended up getting it from him. I used it for like a summer.
How many miles? How many miles was on it?
50. It had 50 miles on it. Yeah, it was insane. It was nuts. And so, anyways, I used it. I put about 2,000 miles on it during the summer. Ended up getting something bigger, so I put it up for sale for. I think I put it up for sale for $500. I got it for like $700. I put it up for sale for $500. I just wanted to sell it. This guy sends me a text message. He's like, dude, I want it. My wife wants it. It's so awesome. Don't sell it to anybody else. I was getting a ton of messages just because it was kind of cheap. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll keep it. You know, if you're going to give it to your wife, that's kind of cool. So he comes the next day, he picks it up, you know, takes it back, whatever. He lived maybe, I don't know, like 50 miles away. I get on Facebook the next day and I see the bike for sale for $1,200. I'm like, dude, like, you don't have to like story.
See, I get it. Yeah, that's
you don't have to make up a story. If you're gonna flip, you can tell me and whatnot.
Right.
You don't have to say anything. Like, dude, I want to buy it. You come and you buy it and whatnot. And
I see why that makes sense, because it's like, okay, dude, like I don't know. You can do it, but I understand why you're like,
you don't have to tell me. Told me. I just felt bad. Like, dude, I don't care, because I'm selling it. I just want to get rid of it. You know, I don't want. You know, I had something else at the time. That's why I'm selling it cheap. But like, you don't have to sell me the story, because I'm getting a lot of people interested, because it's so cheap that, you know, you want to give it to your wife and whatnot. I literally like told other people, like, no, man, like I have a guy coming tomorrow, even though like people are willing to come that day, because he the story and whatnot. So if you come and you don't tell me anything, you buy it, you can do whatever you want with it.
Right.
It's your bike and whatnot. So who cares, But yeah, so that was kind of like one annoying thing that kind of happened and whatnot. So I was like, man, this guy, man, like.
That's lame. That's lame.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So what are the most common questions that you get in regards to like your channel and whatnot, and people asking you just general questions about scooters and whatnot?
So there are a few. Top speed is one that I get. I've gotten a couple as far as like, is it a good beginner scooter?
Okay. Yep. That's a big one.
I'll start with that one. So I think it's great, right? So I think it's a great introductory to two wheels. Twist and go allows you to get comfortable on the road. You instead of worrying about a clutch or anything like that, you're able to become defensive and learn the road. So I do think scooters are good, especially if you're going to stay in the scooter lane. And I don't know necessarily that someone would need to start off at the price point of the ADV, the $42.99.
That's kind of a premium thing.
It is, yeah. So I think there are a lot of good options that are out there that are less expensive, especially when it comes to like, I know, what was I looking at? Some of the I don't remember exactly the ones I was looking at, but there are some better options as far as the price point.
Like Kimco,
right? That's exactly.
Kimco, Sim, I believe, like Lance.
Yep, exactly.
Genuine.
Right, and so you could definitely start there and then work your way up to something. Like you were like, okay, I want something that I'm going to hold on to for a good amount of time. Then it's perfect because you got great convenience as far as, like I said, the keyless entry, the LEDs, the styling is amazing. But I do think that it is whatever scooter you get, I think it is a good for beginners. Because whether you get a 50, 150, 300, you're going to be able to get in there and learn the road and get familiar with it. Like you said, you never rode a scooter in your life when you picked up your first scooter, and you went hundreds of miles, a couple hundred miles.
No, when I picked up the 50, it was like 40 miles or so. But still, dude, like 40 miles.
That's
like everyone. It was but I got used to it within a matter of like 15 minutes and whatnot. I was comfortable on it. This is kind of fun, and I liked it.
Yeah,
I really did. So.
I think the more people experience that, the more people will have on two wheels, and I mean that to me that's huge, right? Because that changed the tide. Then we start getting more different, more options that come in if there are more people riding. So,
I totally agree with that. Yep. Well, actually, before we go ahead, would you just mind if I go grab my charger just to plug in?
No worries. Yeah. No problem at all.
Or if you want it running, it doesn't really matter.
But good, brother.
All right. Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right, cool. Now, man, I think we should do this like maybe once a month or so, bro, or once a quarter at least.
I was just thinking about that, considering it's our first time. I think we're doing pretty good.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely.
It's a fun conversation as well. So,
and the thing about it is, I don't have like even my friend group. I don't have people that I can sit and talk scooters with. My uncle, I know. I can talk to him about them, but outside of that, I don't have too many people, that I can talk to about this stuff. So it's awesome, man.
All right. You want to just go to the next one of the next topics?
Yes. So the other one we touched on this earlier. Can the ADV go on the highway? My answer was maybe.
That's a big one. On a lot of videos that I've seen about the ADV, can it go on the highway? Can it go on the highway?
My answer is maybe, right? This is how I would look at that. If you're in an emergency situation where you have to get on the highway for some reason, stay in the slow lane.
Yep.
And get off at every exit. Don't try to just stay in the slowest lane possible. I know here my normal roads, like my expressway, unless I'm on the thruway, it's 55 miles per hour. Again, people are traveling 60, 65, 70 miles per hour.
Yeah.
It's just you can you? Yes, you can. Should you? Is a whole different situation.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the that's a great point, and that's one of the answers that I give to pretty much everybody who asks me, like, dude, can I take, like, on my earlier videos, like on the Kimco 150 or even on my 50 versus 150 video, people were like, can I take the 150 out on the freeway? And I'm like, don't buy it if you're going to be on the freeway like a lot.
Right.
Even if you're going to be on the freeway like once a week, dude, it's just going to be a hassle. It's not safe. Also, just get something else. Get maybe a 200 Bergman or so, like, or even maybe like the SMAX, because I think the SMAX do like
200.
Like we'll do like 70, 75 or something like that. So it's just, it's a difficult question to answer, especially if somebody wants to get that 150 because maybe of the license, whatever restrictions their state or whatever it is. So it's a difficult one, and also the money and whatnot. You're gonna have the money to get maybe something bigger and whatnot. So it's kind of a difficult thing to answer. But you made a great point. You can, if you need to sometimes, but like, don't buy it for that purpose.
Exactly.
Yep, I totally agree. Yep.
An easy one is the seat comfortable? I had no issues with the seat at all. When I get on that ADV, I like to be on it for hours. So I might start at like 7 a.m. and then I don't get home until 1 o'clock or even later sometimes. Just because I'm out exploring, enjoying myself. I've never at any point been like my butt hurts because I've been on it. They make custom seats and things like that you can purchase for it. If you need a little bit more cushion.
Have you ever taken the ADV off road?
No.
No.
I thought about it. Well, okay. Yes, I had. And but it wasn't. It was on it wasn't like off road, but it was like gravel and mud and things like that. And there were some big potholes. It handled it fine. Fine. But I was like, let me get off this because I didn't want to puncture.
I know exactly.
So I was like, let me just not go too crazy. I was gonna record that. I think I did it on my video that I did about it was a purchase. It was either I did a video on my purchase process for the ADV or the scooters I considered when I was shopping for the ADV. But either way, I did it, and I didn't like how the film came out, so I cut it out. So, but yeah, I've been on it, and I think there's more capacity there. I definitely was kind of more like road through the road and not, it was like, let me get to the other side so I can be done with this. And I chickened out and kind of didn't want to worry about a puncture or anything.
I've seen some videos on YouTube of guys like basically, taking the ADV out on some major like dirt roads and whatnot, kind of the heck out of it. And the bike took it really well, to be quite honest. So like a little scooter, it handled. There's actually a guy, Zach, which is one of the guys who did that Alaska trip. He actually took his jumping on it, and I don't know if you've probably seen that video. Can he off-road? That's what they named the video. Off-road, and he was jumping that thing, like doing wheelies and whatnot. And I'm like, dude, that's impressive for a little 150 scooter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm just afraid to break it. You know what I mean? But clearly, it didn't he fall on? I think he fell off.
I think he did. Yeah,
he's like, normally I wear my gear.
Whatever. Yeah,
right.
Like, whatever.
Those press bikes.
Actually, that's a question. Have you ever dropped a bike?
No.
Okay. Me
I almost did. I was coming on. This was when I first started. I was coming up to an intersection. There's a car coming, and I was like, okay, they're about 6 car lengths ahead. I got time, and I don't know what happened if I held on the throttle or slipped or something, but it almost got away from me. But I caught it. I was like, oh, okay. And then after that little pucker, I was like, let me stop and slow down.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. I never dropped either any of my bikes just because I'm usually really cautious and
Yes.
whatnot. And like you, and that's one thing that I always tell people, like, you know, be cautious and whatnot. Don't abuse the thing, especially like if you're new to riding, because you can fall off easily.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of us, like, we don't know what the heck we're doing most of the time. So like, you learn the ways and whatnot, learn your bike.
Absolutely.
Learn the bike, and then that way, gain some confidence. So, and
it's okay to take your time with it too. You know what I mean? It's not
totally.
Like you don't have to be Rossi out here. Just, and learn it. Throttle control to me is one of those things where I'll give you an example. I rode my Uncle Dave's Vespa GTS 300. And that, when I first rode it, I didn't have my ADV. And I was like, I was still getting used to the sensation of speed without anything around me. So I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I didn't really have an idea of how that power was. Then I got on my ADV, and the thing about the ADV, as soon as I got on it, I felt comfortable. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh man, my throttle control is linear. There's no surprises or anything like that. And then I got back on his 300 GTS, and the throttle is much more twitchy on that than on the ADV. But I noticed the big difference between, I think it's 278 cc's versus the 109, and that's a big difference. It'll mess you up because you're like, oh shoot,
I know.
What have I been missing out on?
Especially on that Vespa, because that's not like a huge bike,
right?
Not huge, and then it has a big engine, man, and that thing will do like 80 miles per hour, and you're like, man, like that's quick, man. Like a little Vespa with like 12-inch wheels, whatever they are.
That scares me, man. Those 12-inch wheels.
I know. But talking about Vespas, to be quite honest, if I had the money to get one, I would. There's something about Vespas, man. It's just I don't know what it is. It's just I don't know. Maybe it's just because they started the whole scooter thing and whatnot. Because that's when you think of a scooter, that's what you think of and whatnot. I love the design, man. Like it's just they're so expensive.
It's pure. It's pure. I think
it is.
Yeah,
it is exactly. It's totally pure, and it's just unfortunately, especially when you get up there and like engine size, they're just so expensive, man. Like they're so expensive. That 300, like that's probably like 10 grand or something, like out of the door.
I think, don't quote me, but I think it was, I think they were like 72, and then you're out the door stuff. You know what I mean? That's still a lot. That's still a lot, man.
It's a nice bike, but it's a lot of money. And it's a lot
of. I think see, I like the Vespas, but I think it's like I don't know if the style for me is one of those things where I like the more XMAX style or ADV, that type thing.
Oh, I get it.
And that's what we were talking about. He's like, it's just, and that's the great thing. There are options for both, people that like different, all types of stuff.
One thing, speaking about the Vespa, the reason why I like it, again, being from Europe and whatnot, when I see one and whatnot, and I close my eyes, I'm like picturing myself somewhere like in Italy, driving to like a vineyard and whatnot, like with the villas in the background. Right. Even like, I don't have and whatnot. I get that vibe from a Vespa.
Absolutely.
So that's why I love them. They're just, and that's one thing that. Let me ask you this, actually. So, do people ever ask you for like recommendations, like what should I get, like what should I go with?
The closest I've had to that was someone asked me, what do I like better, the GTS or the ADV?
So what do you like better? Yeah.
So I think it kind of goes on with what I was saying. To me personally, I like the style of the ADV better. But I like the performance on that Vespa GTS. It's one of those things where it's a noticeable difference. It's like, especially when you're back to back. It's like, and I'm sure you see that difference with the Super Cub and the XMAX. Like,
yeah.
You
can't compare the two. Yeah, you can't compare the two. It might be kind of weird considering the ADV and then the Vespa are kind of similar in size. So you're like kind of, maybe it is the same. And you get on it, it's like, oh, this isn't the same.
Totally different. Totally different. But you have different, and the ergos are different on both of them too. So it's one of those things where I feel like you sit higher on the Vespa than you do on the ADV.
So you're kind of like top of the bike.
Right, yeah. Exactly. So that's just an adjustment, but I think you know, if I had to choose between the two, I would still. I told the person, I said, you know, my subscriber, I was like, yo, I would still choose my ADV 150 out of the two. Personally.
I would be quite honest. To be fully honest, even though I love Vespas, I see something as kind of like a collectible thing where I can just have it in the background. It looks kind of cool.
A piece of art.
And
yeah.
So another thing that I wanted to ask you was in regards to the design, because the ADV obviously isn't a step through, right? I mean, it has that hump, just like my XMAX, right?
Right.
But it's a step through where you can just kind of step through. So what are your thoughts on the scooters that, you know, have that kind of a hump in the middle versus a traditional step through?
I prefer that personally.
I do too. Because it looks like a motorcycle.
Right? Exactly.
Yep.
The ADV, when I first looked out, I said, this thing looks like a sports bike when I first saw it.
It does. Exactly. And I love that. That's one thing that I love about the XMAX.
Yeah.
Just it has that hump and whatnot. And then if it just had like a flat floor, it would kind of look awkward. And I love bikes I love scooters that are obviously step through. But it's just like the sitting position when you're like this, it's just kind of awkward. And for me and whatnot.
Me too. And I think that's I think that was definitely a draw for me. I was like, this is a scooter, but it's kind of it's outside of that traditional scooter.
Yep, exactly.
Vibe,
yep.
You know,
that's one of the reasons why I find the ADV to be like literally the best looking scooter that's at least you can get in the United States. I just, you know, the front is like really aggressive. It looks really nice. It has that hump where it's not a step through. It just makes it look really good from the side, and then it obviously looks awesome from the back as well. And again, that's one of the reasons why I think it's obviously the best in my eyes. When people ask me nowadays, like, what should I go for? I need a 150. That's like the obvious choice. If you're getting a 150 and you have the money, obviously, right? You have money to spend. That's my top choice. The next choice, like a Vespa, if you have the money. But like, that's the best choice that you can have in the US.
Yeah, I think that's the my last video I was mentioning. You know, if I had to do it all over again, I would still. I think it's a great. You know, even though there's a premium there, I think that it is for what you're getting. I think it's solid, rock solid, and it should be on, you know, the top of you know, if you're in that 150cc market, it should be a contender, like one of the top three on the.
What do you think about the relationship between the ADV and the PCX and that price difference, which is like $500 or so?
I think I think so the PCX, because I looked at the PCX as well, and I think that the price difference, I almost think it's fair, because there's I'm trying to explain this the best way I can. So I think because the PCX is what, $37.99,
something like that, yeah,
and then $42.99 for the so I think if you love the style of the ADV 150, that $500 is nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. But
that's actually how I feel, and I do love the style of the ADV much more than the PCX.
When I was because I cross shopped them, and I was going to buy a PCX if there was, because I had to go either. They had one real close to me, a PCX, and I couldn't get into the dealership for some reason. They were like give me the runaround, and I'm like, is it in that? And I was very close, even though I wanted the ADV, but I said, man, I don't have to drive all the way to Pennsylvania. But then that was before I actually saw the ADV in person, And then when I saw it in person, I was like, oh no, man,
There's no comparison.
This is the one. This is the one for me. So
again, and obviously, if you like that aggressive style, I don't think there's a comparison.
No.
Whatsoever. Just
yeah.
The in my eyes, the PCX is kind of simple. It's kind of like a gentle thing, really generic and what. It's a great bike. Like I ridden one actually. When was this, like 3-4 years ago, and I thought it was a good bike. The seating position was kind of like you said on the Vespa, you're kind of sitting up high, like you're on top of the bike. Versus on the ADV, you're kind of like a part of the bike.
Right, you're in it.
Like a motorcycle in a sense. Yeah. And that's again like $500, man. Like just go ahead and spend the extra 500 if you have.
Right. And
definitely worth it.
I think the only difference that I would do this time around would be to go with a slightly used ADV 150.
Yeah.
So instead of providing it brand new, don't worry about, get something that I'll pay $41.99 or $42.99 for one, like from a private sell, or I mean, obviously you can get them cheaper than that. Probably, I would say, $3,500, right?
Which is insane.
Right.
Which is insane. Yeah, which is truly that's a steal.
That's a steal, and if you can get that, especially like a one that has some residual warranty on it, because you can always have Honda pick up as long as you're within that residual warranty period. I believe they'll extend it, with the actual, as long as the maintenance has been done, they'll extend it, for you for another year. They'll send you a sheet on it. So. I think that's the sweet spot for that. And I think if I were to do it again, I wouldn't have bought a brand new one. I would have purchased one that was, 500 miles, something like that on it, as long as it was clean. So
no, I feel the same way, which is again, that's one of the reasons why I love the market in the United States. People buy these things, they take them out once and they like sell them, and then obviously they have to ask for a lot less than paid for it, and then you're basically getting a brand new bike. And you're not paying those dealer fees or taxes, which is saving you like $1,500, which is that's a lot of. That's like made for years.
And I don't mean to offend anyone that works at these shops. I don't understand, where, because I've seen the setup videos. I mean, they've got videos all online for the setup for these. They're putting
it's just the mirrors, man.
Checking the tire pressure, oil, and the battery, man.
Yeah, I know.
And test riding it.
And it's like $500.
Right? No, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I know. That like you said, that's one of the things that kind of annoys me, and it also kind of like pushes me away from that dealership. It's just kind of I immediately get a negative image of that dealership, and I just kind of stay away, even though maybe that's not a proper thing to do, and it's not the fault of the salespeople and whatnot. But it just that vibe, and I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna stay away because I don't think you guys are being fair. Even though I said it's not their fault, they're just doing the job and whatnot. They have to do that, unfortunately, but it is kind of annoying because there's another dealership that's not charging those fees. And
exactly.
You're like, well, why I go to that?
Right. It's just kind of like what you said with the Navi. Like we're seeing ranges from $2,200 all the way up to $3,300, $3,500, which is insane. That's just
it is. It's truly insane, and unfortunately, that it is what it is. If you have the money, I feel like then whatever, it doesn't or whatever. But even if I did have the money, I feel like, dude, I don't want to get screwed just because it's sometimes that kind of principle thing. It's like, dude, I don't want to feel like I'm being taken advantage of by somebody. Right. So,
and I think the thing is I don't ever want to be screwed over, as far as pretty much double what that's double out the door essentially. But the thing about it also is how long are you going to keep this, right? So if you're in a situation where you're unsure, it may be worth it to get, especially I know in my case, I didn't keep my ADV as long as I had planned to, and like I said, if I could have done it again, I would have bought a slight, because they had used ones out there, and I was like, no, I want a brand new one. But
I know that's how I feel too. And that's the same feeling. I'm like, I want a new one. I want to be the first one to get on it and whatnot. But then you're like, man, should I be paying $2,000 for a over the MSRP for a new one, and
right.
kind of like but buying used, again, as I've said, man, like especially in the United States, it's awesome, and it's truly awesome. There's a ton of options. People, fortunately for people like us, you know, they'll buy them and then they'll just take them out once and then they'll put them up for sale.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, for people who you know, who want to save up some money and then basically get a brand new bike, it's truly amazing. So,
absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Did you get any other like questions in regards to your ADV or?
Let me see. I got beginner scooter. Storage on the Honda ADV was I would say adequate. With the exception that you can't have the fit the full face helmet. But you know, that could be, you know, if you're okay with a top box.
Yep.
That's what I would do. Just put a top box on there if you're worried about storage. Those were some of the questions that kept floating up. I did get one more question about and we kind of touched on this a little bit as far as space for your feet. And there's plenty of space. I think I'm about a size 10 and a half. I never had any problem with my foot falling off or anything like that. Okay. You got 2 rest areas, one in the front and then one directly underneath you where you can kind of rest your feet. So that was on point there. What about you? What are some of your questions?
One question I wanted to ask you, something that kind of comes up a lot when people ask me, is did you do any maintenance on the ADV yourself?
So don't laugh. Oh, well, I did do some maintenance. No, I didn't. I didn't do any maintenance.
Nothing. Okay.
Because I caught my ADV at the end of in the middle of the season. So I put like 550 miles on it. So I didn't even get to the 600-mile maintenance on it. Right, exactly. So that'll be the next owner's responsibility there. But
so what are your thoughts on, for example, doing maintenance on your own versus taking the bike to the dealership? And I do all of my maintenance on my own. I learned how to do it. Obviously, YouTube is the best thing ever because you can watch videos and whatnot, and you can just kind of teach yourself. The reason why I do that is I had a really bad experience taking one of my earlier bikes to a dealership where the guy, and this kind of pissed me off. So he was checking out the carburetor on one of my little 50ccs. Mm-hmm. So he takes the seat out, loses a bunch of screws that keep the seat in place, doesn't put them back in, and charges me like $60 to tell me that the carb was okay. And I'm like, dude, like, can you at least like put the screws in? And he's like, oh, stop it, I don't know where it is. And like, since that happened, pretty much every single time I've ever needed something done on a scooter, I do it myself. I just look up the manual. I have service manuals for my bikes. I'll go on YouTube, I'll go on forums and whatnot. The only thing that I don't do myself is tires because I don't know how to do that. Right. So what are your thoughts on like doing maintenance on your own versus taking it to a dealer?
I think it's one of those things. I'll say if it's something that you feel comfortable doing, go for it. Yeah. If it's something that is intimidating and you think that you're gonna jam something up, then maybe take it in. Depending on how you're at, how you feel about the warranty situation. I guess if it's well documented, that first maintenance, I guess for the 80 to 600 miles, it's one of those things where if I'm not going to spend $200 for an oil. I know. I'm not going to do it. And that's pretty simple. I kind of have the same principle about like my cars too. Like, so for example, if there's something that I'm comfortable doing, I'm going to do it. But if it's something that's like I'm not going to take any chances when it comes to. So I'll give you a quick example, totally unrelated to cars. But my G37 had a issue with it was a gallery gasket issue. I knew what to do to fix it. The problem is that there's so many intricate parts to that. If I would have messed something up, I could have destroyed the car. Same thing how I feel with my scooter or motorcycle. If there's something that's beyond my scope, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it in. I'm gonna take it in. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna at least try first.
That's how I feel as well. One thing that I like to say is that when it comes to things like oil change and whatnot, like gear oil change, that's fairly simple. the brakes or changing the coolant, obviously, because ADV is liquid cooled, so is the XMAX. I feel like that's fairly simple that anybody can do.
Right.
And I basically taught myself how to do those things, and like now I can pretty much do them like with my eyes closed.
Right.
Like, changing the oil, you just drain it and you pour the oil in.
Right.
Like it's so easy.
Right.
And like bleeding the brakes, that's also like super easy. Anybody can do that. And I feel like taking the bike into a dealership where a mechanic may not be the best, mechanic out there, who probably doesn't even care about your bike as much as you do, might not even do as good of a job, and is going to charge you like a couple $100.
Absolutely.
So I tell people, just try to learn how to do the basic stuff on your own, because nobody's going to take better care of your bike than you are. And I'm the type of person who I like to take care of my stuff. So.
Right. Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's one of those things you if you are comfortable, or even if you're not comfortable, like learning, learning how to do it. I'm working on something. I've got, this is kind of not off topic too much, but my there's at my grandparents' house, there's a Suzuki, I think it's called a Trail Hawk or something like that. It's 1972. And I remember this thing when I was a kid, like looking at it, wanting to ride it, but it's been sitting in their basement for 40 years, 30, 40 years. And I'm gonna bring it over. I'm gonna try to kind of revive it. So that'll be something that's hopefully down the line in a little while. So it kind of ties into what you were saying as far as, I mean, that's carbureted. That's going to be a whole different ball that we do. But I think, I think that's going to be, I want my boys to kind of join me along with that as well, kind of so they can learn and get comfortable with that type of stuff too. So.
That's really cool. Another question that I kind of get asked a lot is just in regards to, like, people would ask me, for example, when it comes to like 50cc scooters and like 150cc scooters, is not getting a license worth it? Or in other words, like, should I get a 50cc just because I don't have to get a license, or maybe should I put in the work to get a license? So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's worth it to get your license. I think if you want to kind of test it out without it, and if you don't need it, that's fine. But why limit yourself? If you get to a point where, hey, I love this, you already have that taken care of, and then you could say, okay, now I can go out and get what I want, and register, and it's not a problem. I think it's worth it. I mean, why limit yourself?
I know, exactly. One thing that I always tell people, and people ask for this like all the time, I'm like, first of all, like, if you're in the United States, a ton of community colleges will teach you how to ride a bike for free. At least in the Midwest. Like, they literally have like free classes. You come in, it's like a 3-day thing. They'll give you a bike, they'll teach you how to ride, how to shift, and they'll get you the license. They'll teach you how to pass the test. Right. If you do not do that, that's not what I did. Because I just, like, the lines for those type of things are like, you have to wait a long time. Months, exactly. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. I basically went down to my DMV, didn't study whatsoever for the test. It was basically like a card test. It was like 15 questions. I missed 3, and this is funny. The one question that I missed was the brake question. Obviously, in the scooter, they're both brakes. Right. But on a motorcycle, the left is the clutch.
Right, exactly.
Right? And I know that. So that's that I missed. They asked me what was the clutch. And I'm like, I don't know what I put down. I put down, it was the foot thing. And that's obviously the brake on an actual motorcycle.
Right.
Kind of funny because they tailored their test towards the motorcycle.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the question that I missed, which is kind of funny. Then later on, I learned that, oh, shoot, that's the clutch on an actual.
You weren't wrong, though. You weren't wrong.
I wasn't. Exactly. I wasn't. My thing is the brake. Exactly.
Right.
I know. So, but that was kind of funny. But basically, I went down to the DMV, took the test, got like 12 out of 15. That was a pass. Right. Came in the next day with my scooter, got my endorsement. It was that simple. Yeah. It was so, like, when I came in, I think you have to have at least 150cc capacity bike to get that M endorsement. Right. At least in Illinois. Like, my bike was it was a 150, but it was a 149 because it wasn't like a full. They didn't ask me. The guy didn't even ask me. He's like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a 150."
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They don't know.
And it was so easy to pass the test because I was on a scooter.
Yeah.
So definitely, he said, don't limit yourself. You know, take an hour to go down to the DMV, pass the test, or even take the class if you want to actually learn how to ride.
Right.
So
that's what I did. I went. I took I had it. While I was waiting for my tags to come because I purchased out of PA. I went and got my permit. Got comfortable with it. I did some crazy, figure eights in my driveway. Learned how to, get comfortable with it. Went down, scheduled the appointment for the endorsement.
Yep.
Done. Easy.
Yep.
I think that's the other thing. It's so much easier to do it on a scooter. I think.
Yep. So you took the ADV to pass the test?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was easy. It was easy. Because I'd gotten about a week or two. I was, and the test itself, the actual the written portion, that was easy. It was one of those things. I just refreshed myself with it a little bit, and then went and took it. So
yeah, that's kind of cool because now you have that memory that you pass your motorcycle test on the ADV. So,
exactly.
You always remember that. So yeah.
Great. I still want to. I do think though that it's important to continuous learning as far as like just safety and things like that. I think that's important. I watched a lot of the Dan the Fireman? Have you ever seen him?
I haven't seen that. Yeah.
He does a lot of he does crash reviews.
Okay.
And I've had some of the stuff that even though I was on a scooter, I've had because the thing about it. A scooter, being on the road with a scooter and a motorcycle, it's just I think there's no difference as far as the danger.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
And I think that's a misconception because people assume that scooters are safer than motorcycles. I mean, like
same thing.
Traditional is the same thing. Same thing. You may not have the capacity of speed, but if you crash into something at 50 miles per hour,
exactly.
Gonna have a bad day. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts in regards to that whole safety thing about having the proper gear because I'm asking you because to be completely honest, like I have a helmet, I have a pair of gloves, that's it. I don't have a fancy motorcycle jacket with protective padding and whatnot. I don't have anything to protect my knees. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's one of those things. It is your choice. But I personally, I gear up for the most part. I might skip the jeans I have because I'm riding jeans and things like that. I remember I was riding the ADV with my buddy. Well, I went to my buddy's house. I had first gotten it, and it was like, dude, I've never seen somebody dress up have so much gear on to ride a damn scooter. I said, hey man. So, but I think it's important just because obviously the helmet, that's the most important thing.
Yep.
And when you're looking at an injury where you're breaking bones, I don't know that having a certain gear on is going to protect you there. I think for me, it's more of the road rash, though. If that's why I wear my my gloves. I make sure they have the leather and the jacket. I want to make sure that if I slide, I've got it's not my skin being eaten by the ground. I like to wear gear. I don't like to wear gear. I wear gear because if I slide, I don't want any of that road rash. I would love to not wear gear. There've been times when I wanted to go to walk at the park or something or the reservoir, and I've got all this crap on, and I'm just like, what am I gonna do? I can't put it anywhere. So what are your thoughts?
I wear a helmet. That's like my go-to. And one thing that I'm going to point out is that in the scooter world, I've seen a lot of people put a helmet on and not bother with a strap, which is that it's just pointless. That thing's just gonna fly off your head.
That thing will roll.
Dude, yeah, exactly. So please put the strap on, tighten that thing so that thing stays on your head. God forbid something happens. So that's
not worth it.
Scooter crowd, especially when I was down in Florida, with the rental crowd, with the renting system, like they would just put it on, they're out. I'm like, no, man, nothing happens.
I never forget when I went to Key West. We were there. We went on a cruise there, and I could live in Key West, man. I was such a chill vibe there.
It is
great.
It is. Oh, it's fantastic, dude. Especially like when you used to live in the northern part of the United States. Guar and me, when we get these bitter, cold days and whatnot.
Great.
And you get somewhere always so nice. You get kind of jealous and whatnot. I'm like,
oh yeah, no, I'm definitely jealous of those people in Florida, in parts of California.
Oh man, yeah. So let me ask you another question. This one is in regards to taking long trips on a scooter. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that that to me is a goal, right?
Yep.
I would love to be able to take, I would probably start off. I'm not a beast like you, 600 miles, but like I wouldn't mind doing starting off with 100, 200 mile trip. Kind of stay at somewhere nice and then ride back. I definitely think that depending on the roads, your XMAX is perfect for it.
Yep.
And I think that there are routes that you can take where you can pretty much do it with a lot of, 150cc scooter, but you just have to be more purposeful as far as the roads that you're taking, I think.
Yep. No, definitely.
Have you checked out this? I think it's called it's the Scooter Cannonball. Have you seen anything about that? Yeah. So they did something like that. They went across the country, I think. Yeah.
There's a lot of channels on YouTube that I follow where guys, take their little scooters and ride them across the country, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of to see people kind of enjoy life in that aspect. And I've done that multiple times. Obviously, the biggest journey that I took was that 608 miles where I had to get the bike back home. But I took journeys of 400 miles in a day on the XMAX, and it's a lot of fun. And one thing that I love about being on a bike or a scooter or whatever is that it just makes you more aware of the things that are around you. When you're in a car, for example, I think this is a good example. I get in my car, I go to work. If you ask me what I've seen on my way from my house, I can tell you. When I'm on the bike, I just notice stuff. Because it's kind of open.
Right.
You get that, and it's just a good feeling.
It's weird because I know exactly what you're talking about. There are places that I've been that I drive by in the scooter in the car, and I don't think twice about it. But when you're actually, I if I was in real estate, I would find so many different properties just because you miss them. It's oh my gosh, this was crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's one of the best things when it comes to just kind of enjoying the scooter or enjoying your motorcycle. It gives you that, which is really nice actually. And that's draws me to using my scooters pretty much every single day during the summer, because every time I take it out, it's kind of like a journey. It doesn't matter if I'm grocery store or if I'm going to work or whatever. It's always kind of a journey. It's always a lot of fun to do that. So
absolutely. Now, do you ride? Do you ride with a lot of people ever, or do you have?
Unfortunately, none of my friends actually are into riding, or they don't actually even know how to ride.
Yeah.
So 99% of the time, I'm just kind of on my own and whatnot. But I don't mind it. I don't really mind it. Sometimes I'll take my girlfriend on the back of the XMAX. We'll go visit a state park and things like that. But majority of the time, I'm on my own. Do I wish I had somebody to ride with? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I have two bikes is I literally tell people, dude, just get on one of my bikes. I don't care. Just you can choose. Let's just go ride together. And people are not as enthusiastic as I am.
Yeah.
My son is kind of nervous about it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. So when I got my first scooter, the 1150cc, I get it home. Next week, my buddy comes over, and I'm like, dude, try it out. And he's like, okay, I'll try it out. He sits on it, and he's like, okay, this is fairly easy. He gets on the throttle, and he's doing his little thing. It's I want to stop. I'm like, dude, just let go of the throttle. And he didn't have that muscle memory. So
Right.
he was pushing the throttle back and then holding on the brake. And the bike, yeah, he almost fell. He ended up on the grass, ended up hitting my garage, but he didn't fall down. And he's like, I'm never jumping on a bike again. I'm like, man, like, dude, like it's
you gotta give it a chance though. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where like, okay, and it's not something you want to ever rush. You want to say, all right, I've got an hour to sit to try to, understand this.
Yeah. So that was he was like the only one who was interested. Everybody else not really interested, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So I people like on whatever forums, like people hit me up on YouTube. They're like, dude, man, let's ride and whatnot. And like once a year I'll do that, but like majority of the time I'm just kind of on my own. What about you?
So the only person the only person I've ridden with that has an interest in it is my Uncle Dave. And he was recently gotten married, so him being able to get up like and say, hey, Unc, I've been married for 10 years, so my wife's just like, be safe, see you whenever. And he's not there yet, so he's been a little bit more busy as far as being able to get out. So 90% of the time I'm riding by myself. And I find that it's peaceful, but it's fun. It is fun. I like riding with other people too. You know what I mean? Just because, especially if you both enjoy, it's like, let's go grab some, go here, stuff.
Yeah, it is awesome. So for this spring, I have a buddy of mine. He lives in Chicago, and he likes bikes. Okay. And for this spring, we have some things planned out where we're going to I'll take my XMAX. He might take his bike, he might take the Super Cab down the road, sure. And then we're going to explore some of the local state parks around like the Mississippi and whatnot. And we're trying to
awesome.
Well, yeah. So hopefully we get to do that, and I'm really excited. So that's one of my goals this upcoming spring and summer. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm really excited. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. So did you have any other questions in regards to like what people ask you or?
Those, I mean, I'm sure I've got a bunch from my last video that I just posted. I gotta make sure I go back and answer them because I posted in the middle of the night and I woke up and was like, oh shoot, there are about 10 questions here. So but they were more related to my new bike.
Okay, no. So let me ask you a question actually. In regards to your obviously now you got a motorcycle and whatnot.
Well, when are we gonna drop this? I can tell when are we gonna upload this?
Oh, whenever you can upload it tomorrow. It doesn't really matter.
All right, because I haven't announced the bike yet. They don't know if it's a motorcycle or a scooter yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if people follow you on Instagram, they know it's a motorcycle.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. I was like, good thing I haven't posted too much Instagram. I don't think I've ever put my Instagram logo on YouTube.
Okay.
So I thought about that. I was like, yeah, everybody's gonna know if they go on Instagram. I'll plug that next time.
let me ask you a question in regards to the difference between riding your ADV and your CBR.
Yes. So it's a different beast, man. You're on it. You're
part of the thing, yeah.
Right. The power difference.
Yeah, you can compare that, yeah.
Right. So it's hard to explain. I'll tell you, it was like, the first time you got on a scooter?
Yep.
It's very similar as far as that experience when I was on the new bike.
Yep.
So it was like a whole different thing. The clutch, I stalled a couple times. But then I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. Between you and me or anybody watching, I have not. Like, I think maybe once or twice when I was a kid, I got on a dirt bike or something like that. And I don't know how well I did with it, but this was 20 years ago. But I taught myself literally in maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Because I understand, how the clutch, and I think part of that comes from me knowing how to drive a manual, but I got on it. I was nervous, and I was like, man, this is real stupid for you to go out in the middle of winter with snow on the ground.
Yep.
But it was 43 degrees, so it wasn't ice. Hopefully, or thankfully, it wasn't too much ice there. So, but it was amazing, man.
But I'm sure that your experience on the ADV helped you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It'll help you be more confident when you got on the CBR.
Yes, I would not have taken my time with the ADV out of the equation, because it's given me I'm comfortable now on the road.
Yep.
You know, I remember when I first got on the ADV, I was afraid, like if a car was coming by me, I was like, oh, you know.
Yep.
And being able to have that experience from the ADV, I know, okay, if there's a car coming, okay, you know, I've got my wherewithal there. So I'm glad I went this direction. And I think, because initially I kind of thought about going right into a motorcycle, but I had that, my mentality said, hey, a scooter's safer.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in the 80, you know, with the scooter instead of the motorcycle initially. And then
I think that's awesome, just because I'm kind of the same way. I'm a really cautious person myself.
Right.
And that's just because not only for my safety, but for the safety of other people as well.
Right.
And, like you, like, I don't want to drop my bike. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to damage anything and whatnot. Right. And I think that's a good mentality to have for anybody, you know, who's maybe thinking to get it. You have to be cautious. Just take it easy, and you know, things will come to you. Right. Let me tell you a story. When I got the Super Cub, this thing it has a shifter, but it doesn't have a clutch. And I've ridden a Grand before. That was like the only motorcycle that I've ridden that had a clutch and a shifter.
Okay. Right.
I've ridden that once. That was kind of fairly easy and whatnot. So I get on Super Cup. It doesn't have a clutch. It just has the shifter and whatnot. But just having that experience made me just super comfortable.
Oh, like,
I was like so comfortable that I didn't even think about it. And it's like the same thing when I jumped from like the 50 to the XMAX. XMAX, it's a big scooter. It's like 400 pounds. Yeah. And I remember I had my little 50 between my legs. You know, it's 200 pounds, man.
Oh yeah, that's a big difference.
What if this thing tips over and what? It's heavier than my hand. You know?
Right.
And then I learn how to balance it. And then I literally feel like you can put anything between like my legs and I'll be able to balance it.
Right.
Just have the experience and whatnot. So
it's priceless. It's priceless.
Smart. Start small and then easily, you know.
Absolutely. And and that kind of goes where, because I was considering going to a different new bike. But then I was like, man, and the reason for it was because it would have been like a bike that you could keep forever. But I said, that's a lot of power to have on hand. It was 650, so it wasn't like a 600. It was a 650, which are not as, you know, crazy as a 600. But then I said, you know what? I've got children. I've got, you know, I don't want to put myself in danger, and you know, I want to kind of take my time and build up the skill set to be able to enjoy it.
Like in my opinion, and I know a lot of bike guys and whatnot. I talk to some of them, and they'll usually tell you, like, you know, you want something that's fun, that gives you the rush. That's cool and all and whatnot, if you're that type of person, if you're seeking that adrenaline. But in my eyes, like, you can keep whatever. Just because it gives you everything you need. It's quick enough, it has the capabilities, and it's, you know, easy enough to drive. It's not going to keep you like 1,000cc bike.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where I know if I don't, like, I'm trying to, you know how these bikes are, man. You get one and you're like, oh, okay.
I know.
You know, if I could, I think if I could keep this one and be perfectly fine with it, I will.
I think you will.
I hope so. You know, and the thing about it is I wanted to be out there all day long. I went around the block like 3 or 4 times. I was like, So, but soon, man. Spring's coming, you know, and
in a month,
being patient. So
no, I think that's a great choice. Actually, I myself, so I'm in that boat where, like, I want the motorcycle. I want some. I don't even know why. Like I have two bikes. They're they're great. I can take them wherever. But like I'm in that boat. Like I want to get a motorcycle. I'm not really sure what I want. I'm looking at like the Rebel 300, Rebel 500. I'm looking at the MT-03 from Yamaha.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like, what should I get? But to be quite honest, the best option that you can get, just because you get great performance, you get good build quality, and then you get that Honda reliability, which is it's awesome.
Then you got to do it, man. Get you a motorcycle too, man.
I know. Literally, I'm literally every day. I'm on Facebook Marketplace looking at things like that I can kind of get for myself. And currently, I'm thinking about maybe Yamaha MT-03, which is similar power to my XMAX, which is pretty much all I need. I'm not looking, go from 0 to 60 in like a second. I don't really care.
Right.
That's on the one of the things that I want to get. That Rebel 250, just because it's cheap, maybe it's kind of a gateway into that world as well. So I don't know, maybe in a couple of months, who knows?
Okay.
And then so there's also the whole thing. The Navi's kind of cheap. Should I maybe just get the Navi? But that's not an actual motorcycle. So there's and you have so much money that you can spend.
Right.
So
it's exciting though, man. That's the best thing. Like I want to I'm definitely I want to have at least 2 bikes.
Yep.
All the time. You know what I mean? And I think that with my latest purchase, I'm gonna either I think I'm gonna follow my what we were saying about going used for my second bike. So I'm gonna probably get something online, or if I can find a good deal on something, like I might want to try something different, a different type of scooter.
Yep.
But I definitely want to have 2, just so I can have that flexibility to go from one to the other. So
Yep. No. Yeah. I see that. Yeah. I'm also like I'm not only 2 type of a bike guy. Like as many bikes as I can afford.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you just want to should we wrap this up and then?
Yeah, man. This was amazing.
I had a lot of fun, to be quite honest. It's the first time we're doing this, and I think we did okay. So,
dude, we crushed it, man. We crushed it. So, and I think we should try to do this at least once a month, man. If we can, if we can. Sure. And if there's some, have you ever seen Scooter Newbie?
I think so. I'm not sure.
She's in Texas. She has a Vespa.
Yes. She's awesome.
She's awesome.
She's amazing.
Scooter Hound. Have you seen him?
I've seen his videos. Yes.
He's got the XMAX stuff too. So.
Oh my God. He's putting out so much stuff that I'm impressed. So that guy, I sent him a message. I'm like, dude, how are you doing this? You're putting a new video every day. And he's like, dude, it takes me like 7 hours to edit this. I'm like, dude, I know how long it takes to edit. And he's like, yeah, man, I just want to help people out and whatnot. I'm like, dude, it's nuts. He also had the ADV, which he sold to get access.
Yep. He's. I've talked to him. We should try to do figure out like a smaller channel collaboration where we're all kind of that would be awesome.
For sure, I'll be down to do that. Yes.
All right. Cool, man.
Awesome, man.